I'm gonna bail this out so I can watch the water flow. So when you go to do this, make sure you kind of plan on where you're gonna put all your dirt, because sometimes you're digging down. Sometimes you're digging down quite far. Here, this pipe's probably only down 14 or 15 inches. I wish it was a little bit lower, because the frost line here where we live is lower than where that pipe is. So I'm considering installing a drain in here as well, since this sprinkler is the lowest point of our yard. So every time the system shuts off, it allows the system to drain and it empties out the pipe. And when you don't have water in your pipe, it doesn't have opportunity to freeze in the winter. So yeah, just kind of always be mindful of how much dirt you're going to pull out of your hole. I've got this capped off. I'm going to go charge the system again and come over here and look and see if indeed I do believe it is my valve that's failing, or if maybe I have a crack in my pipe here. So we're just kind of doing a little bit of process of elimination troubleshooting. All right, back to the valve box. Gonna slowly charge that line. You can hear it. Now you're not hearing it. That means the line's charged. Now I can fully open that. That is my shutoff. This is the city's shutoff. So if I were to damage that, I can shut it off here. I'm gonna pull this cap right here and we're gonna see if we get water coming out of it. All right, I've got water coming out of that. So what that means is that that valve has gone bad. The diaphragm in it has gone bad. So I am going to end up having to buy a new diaphragm and replace that in order to get this to seal up right. So off to the hardware store we go. Now it's playing games on me. The water seems to have subsided. I removed this pipe. And a bunch of water drained out into my hole here. But it's not flowing like it was before. It was filling this hole. So I'm wondering if that valve just needs to be exercised a little bit. Wonder if it just needs to be opened and closed a couple of times to get everything to seat right. So we're gonna try that. I'm gonna cap this back off, because if I turn that sprinkler system valve on, it'll flood this box and just cause me, or flood this hole, and that'll give me create a whole bunch of grief and anguish that I don't need. Let's go to the valve box and turn that sucker on and off a few times. We're just gonna tighten down these screws just a little bit, just a little hand tighten. Nothing crazy, don't want to strip anything out. The drill already did a really good job at getting those snug. I'm just going back through and just feeling it by hand, you know, making sure everything's right where it needs to be. Everything feels really good. Let's go to the sprinkler timer and run this valve a little bit. All right, we're at the sprinkler timer. Turn that baby to auto, manual, find the zone that I think that it is, add a couple minutes, and fire it up. Let's go see what's going on. Oh, debt-free lunch. Debt-free lunch. Perfect. That's exactly the zone I wanted, because I know that this sprinkler that's running over here is on that zone. So let's go out to our hole in the front yard and inspect. I've got the littlest drippage, and that's just coming out of the cap because I didn't, use thread sealer on the cap. There's a lot of pressure going through here, but there's nothing major going on. So we're gonna go shut that valve off. All right, round 2. We're gonna shut that valve off by hitting clear. We're gonna hit manual again. We're gonna go back to the zone, and we're going to fire it again. And the reason why we're doing this is to exercise that valve. I want that valve diaphragm to be opening and closing, and just kind of working its little groove, and hopefully it seats right. If this works, great. If not, we're off to the auto parts store to buy a new diaphragm to replace inside that valve body. That valve's running, and what I like is there's no water in this box. If you want to know which valve is the one that goes to a certain sprinkler line, you can touch the top of the solenoid and you can feel the vibration in your fingertips from the water running through that valve. Here we go again. Manual, next. Up for 3 minutes. Enter. This is the 3rd time I've cycled this valve, just trying to get that to seat. Just do this over and over again. All right. Time to shut that baby off. All right. Now when I remove this, we're gonna get water because this line's full. And that's fine. But what we want it to do is eventually stop. All this water that's coming out is the line draining because this is the lowest point of the system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pipe, I'm going to thread it in there so that as I'm scooping out water and stuff, I'm not getting... I'll put the cap back on. It's subsided, the water subsided for a little bit, but I want to get my cup in there to bail out some of this water, and I don't want to be dumping sediment and stuff back into the line, because dumping sediment and rocks back into the line, then you put your sprinkler on there, all it does is just run that sediment right through your sprinkler head and jams it all up. All right, we've bailed that out. Now we're going to pull this and see how much water we get in there again. So that's a pretty good sign that it's not constantly flowing like it was before. I think that diaphragm just needed to be exercised. It just needed to be opened and closed. So I'm going to bail this out. I'm going to bail it out. I'm going to put my pipe back on. I'm going to go have some lunch while the pipe's on. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to check it again. All right, I pulled the cap off. I'm going to leave the cap off. That way, if this fills up with water, hopefully it won't come back over the top. But I'm feeling pretty good about this. I'm feeling that diaphragm cleaning may have done the job. So I'm going to go have some lunch, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to see what's going on. Hey, you give me that back. You drop it. I wonder where all my sprinkler parts keep going. Grizzly.